The introduction of Genesis, part 5, right from the beginning onwards. In the 44th chapter of Genesis, brothers who dined with Joseph were getting ready for their return journey to their native town. And Joseph was found to start his arrangements for sending them away by filling grains and money in their sacks. According to God's plan, all the Israelites should come to Egypt from Canaan. As God knows the very will of mankind, He has executed His plan wonderfully. So, all these chapters will stand witness for the wonderful plan of God. And Joseph, being the prime minister of that nation, he wanted all his brothers, sisters, his father, and all his family members to live with him in that nation. Because of that reason, he called his officer steward of his house and ordered him to fill the sacks with food or grains and also with money. In addition to it, he should also keep some silver bowl in the sack of his brother Benjamin. So they have done according to his plan. And therefore, all the brothers were returning happily from to their native home from this nation. And they had gone only a short distance from the city. Joseph ordered his servant to follow them. And when you overtake them and say to them, why have you repaid evil for good? Is it not from this that my Lord drinks? By that he practices divination? You have done evil in doing this. And they replied to that man, saying, why do we do like that? And we are not such people of doing this. And they said that whoever of your servants is found with it, he shall die, and we also will be the servants of our Lord. And therefore he said, let it be as you say. He who is found with it shall be my servant, and the rest of you will be innocent. And he started searching their sacks from the eldest to the youngest, and the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. Then they tore their clothes and every man loaded his donkey, and they returned to the city. When Judah and brothers came to Joseph's house, he was still there. They fell before him to the ground. When Joseph saw them and said to them, what have you done this against me? And why have you done this? Do you not know the man like me can indeed practice divination? And Judah said, what shall we say to my Lord, and what shall we speak, or how can we clear ourselves? They continued to express themselves. But Joseph said, only the man in whose hands the cup was found shall be my servant. But as for you, go up in peace to your father, he said. Then Judah said to him, we have a father, an old man, and a young brother, the child of his old age. His brother is dead, and he alone is left of his mother's children. And his father loves him very much. And the boy cannot leave his father, or if he leaves his father will die. Whereas you said to your servants, unless your young brother comes down with you, you shall not see my face again. Moreover, our father told us that his wife bore him 2 sons, and surely he has been torn into pieces, and his heart sank down, and he was killed by the fierce animals in the wilderness. If you take this one also from me, any harm can happen to him. Therefore, I would surely die. So, the youngest brother Benjamin's life is connected with his father Jacob. If we do so, the harm will come upon our father. Judah said to Joseph. On hearing this, Joseph couldn't control his pain. So it is found in the chapter 45 of Genesis. Genesis 45 verse 1 says, Then Joseph could not control himself before all those who stood by him. He cried, "Make everyone go out from me." So no one stayed with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers. Finally, he revealed himself to his brothers, and he wept aloud so that the Egyptians heard it, and the household of Pharaoh heard it. And Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father still alive?" But his brothers could not answer him properly because they were dismayed at his presence. So Joseph said to his brothers, "Come near to me, please." And they come near, and he said, "I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. And now do not be afraid or distressed or angry with yourselves, because you sold me here, for God sent me before you to preserve life." So here we understand how beautifully God's plan is executed and how beautifully the writers have portrayed the human relations and the human emotions. We see that the emotions of Joseph and his dreams, visions. Also, we find that Jacob's dreams and the emotions of brothers in the family. We will see how they are properly used in God's plan. Therefore, we understand the in depth wisdom and the knowledge of God. Here we see that Joseph spoke to his brothers lovingly and smoothly told them that God only sent him to this place. So Joseph said to them, "It was not you who sent me over here, but God. He has made me a father to Pharaoh, and the lord of all his house, and ruler over all the land of Egypt." And Joseph said to them to go up to his father and tell him that his son Joseph was alive, and God had made him to be the Lord of all Egypt. "Therefore, come down to me and do not tarry, my brothers," he said. Therefore, Joseph said to them to come to him all that they had, with their children and with their flocks and with their herds. And we also see that he has made them a very, very beautiful and a powerful and a prominent promise, saying that he would foster them and take care of them until he lived without going into poverty. This is really a great promise. He promised them that he would foster them without going into poverty. Then he fell upon his brother's Benjamin's neck and wept. And Benjamin wept upon his neck, and he kissed all the brothers and wept upon them. So, my brothers, I will clearly discuss when we meditate upon the verses. And on hearing this, Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Take your father and household and come to me, and I will give you the best of the land of Egypt is yours." Therefore, he welcomed them to Egypt, and he gave them provision for the journey. So he gave them food and wonderful clothes and donkeys for the journey, grains and money. Everything is arranged for their journey. And he has provided them the sufficient food which is sufficient to return to the Egypt. And to his father he sent 10 donkeys loaded with the good things of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain, bread, and provision for his father on the journey. And then he sent his brothers away, and as they departed, he said to them, "Do not quarrel on the way." So they returned to the land of Canaan to their father Jacob, and they told him that Joseph is still alive, and he is ruler all the land of Egypt. And his heart became numb, and he did not believe it. But when he saw the wagons that Joseph had sent, to carry him, the spirit of Jacob had revived. And Jacob said, "It's enough. Joseph, my son, is still alive. I will go and see him before I die." So Jacob became very, very happy. So when we come into the chapter 46, we see that Israel took his journey with all that he had and came to Beersheba and offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. And God spoke to Israel in visions of the night and said, "Jacob, Jacob." And he said, "Here I am." Then he said, "I am God, the God of your father. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for there I will make you into a great nation. And I myself will go down with you to Egypt, and I will also bring you up again, and Joseph's hand shall close your eyes." He said. Then Jacob set out from Beersheba. The sons of Israel carried Jacob their father, their little ones, and their wives in the wagons that Pharaoh had sent to carry him. And it is found that except Jacob, they are 66 in number. And these are the families came out of the 10 sons. So their sons and grandsons and their wives and everything is clearly mentioned between 8th and 27th verse of this chapter. Except Jacob, the family members were 66. So including Jacob, it is 67, and Joseph and his two sons come up to 70. So 70 males in the family. So chapter 46 says that 70 men came to Egypt. The place called Goshen is found to be very prominent and important in Egypt. So the arrangements were made to give them a shelter in Goshen. When Jacob came to Joseph, he fell on his neck, embraced him, and kissed him, and wept for him, and he became very happy. Now Israel said to Joseph, "Now let me die, since I have seen your face, and know that you are still alive." And Joseph said to his brothers and to his father, "I will go up and tell Pharaoh, and I will say, my brothers and my father's household, who were in the land of Canaan, have come to me, and the men are shepherds, for they have been the keepers of livestock, and they have brought their flocks and their herds, and all that they have." So Joseph went in and told Pharaoh, "My father and my brothers with their flocks and herds and all that they possess have come from the land of Canaan. They are now in the land of Goshen." And Pharaoh asked his brothers, saying, "What is your occupation?" And they answered, "Your servants are shepherds, as their fathers were." And they also said, "We have come to sojourn in the land, for there is no pasture for your servants' flocks, for the famine is severe in the land of Canaan. And now, please let your servants dwell in the land of Goshen." They said. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Your father and brothers have come to you, so the land of Egypt is before you. So settle your father and brothers in the best of the land, and let them settle in the land of Goshen. If you find any talented men among them, put them in charge of my livestock." Pharaoh said to them. Then Jacob was brought in and stood before Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. And Pharaoh asked Jacob, "How many are the days of the years of your life?" And Jacob said to Pharaoh, "The days of the years of my sojournings are 130, and few and evil have been the days of the years of my life." And Jacob blessed Pharaoh and went out from the presence of Pharaoh and got into Goshen. Then Joseph settled his father and brothers and gave them a possession in the land of Egypt, in the best of the land, in the land of Ramses, as Pharaoh had commanded. And Joseph provided his father, his brothers, and all his father's household with food according to the number of their dependents. And now there was no food in all the land, for the famine was very severe, so that the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan languished by reason of the famine. And Joseph gathered all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan in exchange for the grain that they had bought. And Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house, which was limitless and abundant. But Joseph did not gather any of the field or the property, because they have faith that they are going to return to their native town, Canaan. So all the Israelites believed this. And here we see one more important thing in the life of Jacob and Joseph. And Joseph has made a very good promise to his father. And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years. So the days of Jacob, the years of his life, were 147 years. And when the time came near to Jacob that he must die, he called his son Joseph and said to him, "If now I have found favor in your sight, put your hand under my thigh and promise to deal kindly and truly with me. The promise is that do not bury me in Egypt when I die, but bury me with my fathers and forefathers in my native town." So Joseph answered his father, saying, "I will do as you have said." And we see in the 48th chapter of Genesis, Joseph was told that his father was ill. So he carried his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, to his father. When Jacob came to know that his son Joseph came, he summoned his strength and sat up in bed. And Jacob said to Joseph, "God Almighty appeared to me in the land of Canaan and blessed me and said to me, I will make you fruitful and multiply you, and I will make you into a great nation. And now your two sons, who were born to you in the land of Egypt, before I came to you in Egypt, are mine, as Reuben and Simeon are. And the children that you fathered after them shall be yours." When Israel saw Joseph's sons, he said, "Who are these?" Joseph said to his father, "They are my sons, whom God has given me here." And he said, "Bring them to me, that I may bless them." Now the eyes of Israel are dim with age, he could not see them. So Joseph brought them near him. He kissed them and embraced them and blessed them. And Israel stretched his hand and laid it on the head of Ephraim, and his left hand was laid on the head of Manasseh, crossing his hands, for Manasseh was the firstborn. And in the 49th chapter, then Jacob called his sons and said, "Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you what shall happen to you in days to come." And he told them what is going to happen to all these 12 lineages of Jacob. After that, he blessed them, and after that, he died. But before he was dead, he asked Joseph, to bury him with his fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron, in the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, to the east of Mamre, in the land of Canaan, where Abraham was buried, in addition to Sarah his wife, and Isaac was buried with Rebekah his wife. There Leah was also buried. Therefore, all these things we see in the history until now. When Jacob finished commanding his sons, he drew up his feet into the bed and breathed his last, and was gathered to his people. And Joseph fell on his father's face and wept over him and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants and the physicians to embalm his father. So physicians embalmed Israel. Here we see that embalming bodies is a practice in Egypt, and 40 days were required for it. For that is how many are required for embalming. And the Egyptians wept for him for 70 days. And when the days of weeping for him were past, Joseph spoke to the household of Pharaoh, saying, If I never have found favor in your eyes, please speak in the ears of Pharaoh, saying, My father made me swear, saying, I am about to die in my tomb that I hewed out for myself in the land of Canaan. There shall you bury me. Now therefore, please let me go up and bury my father, then I will return to Egypt. And Pharaoh answered, Please go and bury your father, as he made you swear. So Joseph went up to bury his father in Canaan. So his brothers and his household people and the elders of the Egypt followed him. And he made a mourning for his father continuously for 7 days. When the inhabitants of the land, Canaanites, saw this, they said, This is the grievous mourning by Egyptians. Therefore, the place was named as Abel Mizraim, and it is beyond the Jordan. For his sons carried him to the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave of the field at Machpelah, with the field from Ephron. After he had buried his father, Joseph returned to Egypt with his brothers and all who had gone up with him to bury his father. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, It may be that Joseph will hate us and pay us back for all the evil that we did to him. So they sent a message to Joseph saying, Your father gave this command before he died. Say to Joseph, Please forgive the transgressions of your brothers and their sin, because they did evil to you. And now, please forgive the transgressions of the servants of the God of your father. Joseph wept when they spoke to him. And Joseph said to them, Don't be afraid, for I am in the place of God. As for you, you meant an evil against me, but God meant it good for me, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive, as they are today. So do not fear, I will provide for you and for your little ones. In that way, he comforted them and spoke to them smoothly. The mortal span of Joseph is altogether 110 years, and all the Egypt was blessed because of him throughout his life. And Joseph saw the children of Ephraim of the third generation, and also the children of Machir, the son of Manasseh, were counted as Joseph's own. And Joseph said to his brothers, I am about to die, but God will visit you and bring you up out of this land, to the land that he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, God will surely visit you. You shall carry up my bones from here. Then Joseph died, being 110 years of age. They embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin box in Egypt. So, in the next phase, we will see Exodus, and by now we have finished the introduction of Genesis 50 chapters. And from the next moment onwards, we are going to meditate upon the chapters and the verses of Genesis. We will meditate upon the chapters and verses systematically, and we will see what are the important things that are to be identified, and a summary of those chapters, history and background, and why is it written, and the meaning that is hidden within the verses will be explained in detail. God bless you.